Hello everyone, welcome to What If Issei got teleported to Claymore and joined their war movie. Before we start, please go support Draconarius23 for writing that awesome fanfic. This is the translated version I made. There will be some mistaken character's gender, but of course Issei is a male. After completing a mission he wasn't supposed to do, it was given to two faction leaders who sent him there. Issei found himself in a land where warriors known to humans as Claymores fight against carnivorous beasts called Yamas. But that's not all that lurks in that world. Beings from another plane attack to devour human souls. Issei will now help bring peace to that place. Issei falls into the Claymore world at the time Claire meets Teresa. Issei is very fast because he trained with several of the fastest beings in DxD to increase his arsenal. He also learned to use the sword well and will have a sword style that will be attacks of one or two swords from other anime, series or video games. The Yama will be terrified when they feel Issei's power. For Issei will be superior to old beings in that world. I mean, he survived a crazy cadre, a god of deception, returned from death, fought against evil dragons that can carry entire islands, survived the walking apocalypse of 7 heads, and has the most op body in the novel, even though he doesn't know how to use it, along with the plus that the power of office. 5. As I said before, Issei will fall into Claymore during the time when Claire was a child and met Teresa, although with all his powers and some other things, like a bunch of swords that Kiba created for him, swords of different elements and durable. Until Issei breaks them all and occupies Ascalon. 6. Here Azazel will not be the one to blame for Issei's disappearance this time. There will be two culprits and they will laugh their heads off when they find out who they are. In this fanfic, Issei, at 25 years old, has learned several things after winning the first Azazel Cup, since after that several were held where the results were different, but Issei stopped participating after the third one. Issei married Rias, obviously, and the others. Kiba with Tsubaki and her friend Tosca, Gasper with Valerie after Issei, Gasper, and Saji told him to change for his own good. Saji married Momo and Ruruko, obviously, Vali with Jembudmon, didn't you see that coming? And Sekiryuutei with his blonde Kushia Abaddon. Now Issei has a company that, with the help of Azazel and his inventions, and also Sekiryuutei and other fallen lunatics who love creating stupid things, has given a hard time to brands like Apple and others. What does this company sell? Well, electronic devices in general, whether computers, phones, radios, and so on. They also sell household products and other items. Although Issei didn't invest the money too long ago, thanks to saving enough. As I said, Issei married his girls. Who were they? Well, Rias, Akeno, Asia, Kaneko, Zenobia, Irina, Rossweisse, Kuroka, Ingvald, Ravel, Almahald, Yasaka. And he's engaged to others, who are Sona, Serafal, Gabriel, Kayam, Yura, Kun, who is still a minor, and Sakvara. Now, Issei's attitude has changed. He's no longer a pervert, well, except with women, but he's not so much of one in public anymore. As a man with a job and everything else, Issei's demeanor has become more serious at times, but he still retains his kindness and positive energy, which makes him quick to make friends. Now that he's gained considerable strength, Issei can be somewhat reckless and overconfident around weaker opponents, and he can also be a bit of an idiot when he wants to be. Regarding power, I would compare it to figures I consider appropriate. His strength is comparable to a young Sekiryuutei at his peak with his breakdown the beast, although Sekiryuutei is now stronger, about 30 times stronger, and can only beat him with the queen. His speed increased drastically thanks to training a lot with Kiba, Arthur and Hermes, who gave him advice to improve his speed. They are the only ones I know who are strong. If anyone knows of beings faster that I know of, now Issei can easily evade or intercept attacks from the current Kiba, who would be for speed almost close to light. Along with that, with his bishop, he can catch up to or surpass Hermes, even if only for a short time. His resistance is greater than his 17-year-old self, meaning he can now withstand the same damage he inflicts. He can easily endure attacks capable of destroying multiple mountains, since when he trains with Vali, Vali practically attacks him to kill. However, he can withstand even more damage, as by understanding a portion, 20% to be exact, of Great Red's body, he can now withstand attacks that destroy entire cities in seconds with some difficulty. If that's the case, these would be their statistics. Attack multi-mountain level half-continent, at 100% in Diabolo's Dragon mode. Resistance mountain level medium continent level, Diabolo's Dragon. Speed near light speed FTLO, Dragon Diabolos. His abilities are almost the same. Balance Breaker, Triana, and Diabolo's Dragon. But with the added bonus of skills that the dragons, including Crom, taught him. The first would be Dragon Roar. This technique duplicates a dragon's abilities. An orange energy layer covers the dragon, but it drains energy for a few seconds. Taken from Guilty Gear, character Soul Bagi. Second is dragon senses. The dragon senses everything around it within a range of 1 to 5 kilometers, depending on the dragon's power. Issei, volley, and Saji know it. Like observation hockey. Third, dragon vision allows you to see at 70 kilometers what a human sees at 3 meters. It's very helpful when you have dragon eyes and can also perceive movements lower than the user's own. The trio possesses it, although Issei and volley are the ones who have mastered the technique the most. It's similar to observation hockey. Fourth, flame control. Issei, being the Sekiryuutei and wielding powerful flames, Drake, can easily control them. Now, Issei sometimes thinks he's Roy Mustang, volley controls the infinite division, and Saji the purgatory flames. Fifth, decent swordsmanship. Now Issei can use Ascalon and X-Durandal well when Zenobia lends them to him. Auden taught him a very powerful technique that eliminates enemies very easily. Although initially it failed almost 70% of the time, now the failure rate is 10%, and with the chant, its success rate is 100%. It's a technique that Auden stopped using when he was young. Zantetsuken, the sword that erases from existence. Zantetsuken Auden Final Fantasy. Sixth, intimidation. Issei emanates a very intimidating aura that only affects those weakest to him. It is most effective when the enemy is weaker. Something like Killer Instinct or Conqueror's Haki. Seventh, the breath of everything or the breath of all things, an ability that Akita Saoji himself taught to both Kiba and him, is a technique for sword users that allows them to cut through everything and nothing at the same time. A very effective ability if used properly. Hirano's Aura, One Piece Alabasta Saga. 8. Dragon and semi-dragon form. Issei can transform into a dragoner only partially, greatly increasing his base form without using boosted gear. Based on Dragon Force Fairy Tail. 9th, premature growth. This technique was taught to him by Crom, who saw it in an ancient cave many years ago. It consists of the user forcing their body to mature into an adult state, also allowing them to release a great amount of power, 4 times greater than their current power. Based on Gon's transformation from Hunter x Hunter. That's all of them. I thought of more, but I forgot them XD. Now, according to the power level in Claymore. Well, it would be the next one. Claymore's load a medium-class demon when using almost 100% before awakening. Yama depending on their power, they vary. They range from low to mid-high class. Hakusaisha high-class demon, at 100% capacity. Issei here would be the ultimate badass, but I'll see how to handle this since I'm using 25-year-old Issei to have a different attitude. But here's the final explanation so you don't think I'm going overboard. When Issei falls into Claymore, he'll be a child. If anyone knows how old Claire was when she met Teresa, please let me know so I can keep that information in mind. His power level will be lower, meaning he'll be able to destroy you more easily with his fists, but with his balance breaker, since he can block everything else, he'll be able to fight on par with a mid-ranking awakened being. This fic will include an element that only happens on a continent far from the Claymore series. This event will take place during the time skip in the series where Claire joins the organization. Don't worry, Teresa won't die. If you've played Doom, I'll just say that the gates of hell will open on Earth and Issei will have to close them from the inside and escape to tell the tale. But putting all that aside, Issei will be the protagonist, just like in my other fics. Ever since I read about betrayal and all that, things that, well, they bore me, sometimes still hurt to read, not anymore, but it still hurts. I can't work with any other character. I couldn't pull off volleys, I don't give a damn, I'm the best attitude, and while I don't dislike Saji, he doesn't inspire me as a protagonist. But hey, that's just how I am. You know me. Well, wait until the anime and manga are finished. That's all for now. I, Lord Draco, possessor of the heart of the universe, the equation of creation, the knowledge of the gate of truth, being bound to existence and master and lord of rare crossovers, humbly bid you farewell XD. Prologue mission wrong. Prologue. Unknown place. Issei's POV. Drag. I called Drag who made the theme appear in my left hand. Yes, mate. He asked me. They screwed up, right? I asked again. The screw up is an understatement. I think if they don't do something, they won't survive, my friend said. Do you think that thing followed us after we jumped down here? I asked Drag again. I don't know, but I feel something strong coming from several meters ahead, Drag informed me. Well, I'd better go see what it is, after all, we're already here, I said, walking north. Where am I, you might ask? Well, let me tell you something really beautiful. About 14 hours ago I was lying in bed with my girls. I was in my mansion in the underworld. It was given to me as a gift when I married all the girls, and so I decided to go live there with them. Of course I visit my parents. Me and my current wives were asleep after making love for almost 9 hours. Since becoming a dragon and starting my active hex life, let's just say I've become almost insatiable, but we're not here to talk about that. First, I was relaxing at home after what I mentioned when I got a call. Who was it? None other than my brother-in-law Mauzursuch Lucifer. I asked him what was going on and he said he had a mission for me since everyone else was busy. So, everything was fine. I got up and told the girls that Zursuch Niacin had called me for a mission. They understood and after showering and getting dressed, I said goodbye to my wives and teleported to Lucifer's castle using a magic circle. Yes, I know how to use magic now. Ross-chan and Faye-chan helped me a lot. Anyway, when I arrived at the castle, I found Zursuch Niacin with Michael, who had to come because he was also involved. When I arrived, they greeted me and quickly explained the situation. Elias-kun, we need you for a mission since the DXD group and Volley are unavailable, Zursuch Niacin told me. I asked what kind of mission it was and this time it was Michael who explained it to me. Well, a strange anomaly has appeared here, he explained as a map appeared as a hologram. Grigory's technology. Those crazy guys did good things. It showed me that I was outside a town in northern Spain. We can't go because we have a lot of paperwork to review. We would have sent any of the guys, but it seems Cao Cao is training with Indra, Sarerg has to attend to his clan, and his wife, Biku is being trained by his grandfather, Arthur was called away by his parents, and Volley, well, his wife is pregnant and he has to take care of her. He apologized for bothering me when he had things to do. I told him not to worry and that I would go and check the place out. Excellent, Ice-kun. We'll teleport you there. Investigate what's causing this anomaly and when you find out its source, come back and let us know, Michael told me. I just nodded and Zursuch Niacin sent me to the location. Once I was outside the village, a rural place far from civilization, I ventured into the woods surrounding it. Drake warned me that he sensed a strange anomaly, but he couldn't pinpoint its location. He felt like it was all around us, yet at the same time, it wasn't. We searched for about 4 hours without success. This confused me greatly, but I decided to find something to eat since I was starving. We went to the nearest town and I bought enough food for about 10 people. Pizza, hamburgers, fried chicken, lasagna, french fries, and a 3-liter bottle of Coke. When the girls aren't around, they forbid me from eating fast food, but when they don't see me eating it, what can I do? It's nice to eat different things once in a while. Anyway, I rushed back to the village and went deeper into the woods and that's when everything started to happen. Pinpav Issei. Of third persona. Partner, the anomaly feels stronger a few meters away, but be careful, it's very strong, said Drake. Issei nodded. Okay, all just to see what happens and go back home, Issei said. The chestnut tree walked about 30 meters forward, passing between the dense trees. When it was close, it decided to proceed cautiously, just in case. When it arrived, it saw someone in the middle of a clearing in the forest, a humanoid being of black color with horns, its back turned to it. Issei gave it a strange look. Whatever it was, Drake was faster than Issei. He knew it was something very dangerous and could finish Issei off quickly, so he decided to warn him fast. Ice, for the love of all that is holy, get out of here without him noticing. This is very dangerous. I don't know if he's hostile or not, but we need to get away quickly. Drake didn't finish because the being noticed Issei and turned his gaze, revealing his face, or what appeared to be it. Issei stood still, looked at him, and the brunette didn't know what to do. Drake panicked. This was Zursuch and Michael's fault for not doing their job, and here Issei, a good person, offered to help because he saw that the paperwork was a pain. Michael and Zursuch are idiots, Drake thought, frightened. He hadn't been this scared since Amel, but here he was, facing that thing that made him feel a very powerful aura. Underworld. Lucifer's castle. Zursuch's office. Have you finished your work, Zursuch-sama? Asked Zursuch's wife and personal maid, Graphia Lucifugus, watching Zursuch finish signing a paper and place it on top of one of the 6 stacks of papers he had. Zursuch let out a sigh of satisfaction at seeing his work completed. Ah, Graphia just finished, it's good to have finished. She didn't finish, because a magic circle appeared in the middle of her office, and from it emerged an alarmed Azazel. Zursuch watched this with some concern, as it had to be something serious for Azazel to react like that. Azazel, what's wrong? Zursuch asked. Graphia stood behind her king husband, silently watching what was about to happen. Zursuch, didn't you and Michael go and see the anomaly? The fallen man asked, agitated, looking at Zursuch, who became nervous. His wife looked at him seriously. No, I sent Ice-kun in our place, Zursuch said, and Azazel almost tore his hair out over it. How on earth could they send Issei on a task that was entrusted to both leaders? Are you an idiot or what? I specifically told you to because what was there was something more dangerous. I know Issei can handle it, but the latest readings on the anomaly have changed drastically. That thing is stronger than Trihexa itself. Issei is in danger, and it's all your fault. Azazel shouted. Graphia went pale. Her little brother was in danger, and Zursuch wasn't doing any better. Her brother-in-law was in trouble, all because he wanted to finish his paperwork. He thought of something and turned pale. Rias Tan is going to kill me. thought the Mau, but then he saw his wife's expression and became even more frightened. Damn it, Grafia and Rias Tan are going to kill me. He thought, terrified, even more so than when Cell provoked Gohan's fury in Super Saiyan 2 form. Zersich Gremory. What the hell did you do? Grafia yelled in her angry wife mode. Now Zersich was really screwed. Wait. Michael is screwed too, Zersich thought. Azazel, despite the nervousness he felt seeing Grafia angry, knew what Zersich was thinking. Yes, Michael is screwed too. I told all the archangels who were with him, and well, let's just say I've never seen terror like I did when I first saw Gabriel angry. But it's not just Rias, Grafia and Rias who will kill them. All of Ice's wives and girlfriends will beat them up. I have to go see what's going on, so I'm going to wear Ice's to see what I can do to bring him back, Azazel said, leaving Zersich alone with his angry wife. Damn, Zersich thought, looking at Grafia. Now then, Zersich, you'll explain why you had the brilliant idea of sending Ice-kun there when it was your turn, Michael-sama, Grafia said in a terrifying manner. Now they had both really screwed up. At the same time. With Issei. Issei stared at the thing, at those empty eyes, the face. That's what scared him, and its aura didn't help at all. I shouldn't have accepted this job, Issei thought. The being merely pointed at him. Imagine it's white, although both with almost the same thing probably. Issei felt heavy, too heavy, he couldn't move, and he couldn't hear Drake at all anymore. What's wrong, Drake? Drake. Answer me, old man, what's wrong? Issei asked, but there was no response. Issei saw the creature that was now just a few steps away from him. He broke out in a cold sweat and only wanted to ask one simple question. Who are you? Issei asked with some effort, as his body felt heavy. The creature looked at him without saying anything. Issei continued to stare, unaware that behind him a kind of dark rift was opening. Ignore the group of subnormals. Issei was forcefully pushed by the being, who watched as Issei was consumed by the darkness of the dark rift. At that moment, Azazel appeared a few meters away from the being and stared at him. Azazel looked at the being with concern, as he could no longer sense Issei. What have you done to Ice? Azazel shouted at the being, who just stared at him without saying a word. I asked you to tell me what you did to Ice, answer me. Azazel demanded, but he was sent flying by the being, who raised his hand and sent a powerful wave of energy crashing down on the fallen man. Damn it. Azazel yelled angrily. Just as he was about to attack, it was too late. The being entered the rift and disappeared. Oh, damn it. The fallen man screamed in frustration, pounding the ground. Issei had been taken somewhere else by that being. Now Zersich and Michael are in trouble, Azazel said resignedly, then stood up and looked one last time at the place where the being had created the rift. I hope he's alright, he said, then left through a magic circle. He had bad news for everyone. And that's how Issei ended up in a strange place. Current events. With Issei. And? The chestnut tree walked for several meters in the place. It was a strange place with a night sky and a full moon next to a long expanse of white sand, but he put that aside and walked through the white sand dunes towards the north, where Drake felt the energy. He arrived at an open area, and there he found the being, along with a masked individual. Issei walked cautiously since Drake had warned him that the subject was stronger than the creature. The subject looked at Issei. That yellow and black gaze was terrifying to Issei. Thank you for bringing him, you may leave, the man said to the being, who nodded and vanished in a burst of speed. The man looked at Issei, who approached until he was a few meters away. Don't be afraid, I won't hurt you, kid, the man reassured Issei, who decided to trust his word. Who are you and why am I here? Issei asked. The man smiled beneath the mask. He had been expecting that question. Well, to answer your question, I'm Draco W.D. Winchester, who's in charge of all universes, past and present. And as for why you're here, well, Draco said, his expression turning serious as he looked at Issei and pointed at him. You, Haidu Issei from Dimension 34C, have been chosen to help in another world, one far removed from your own. Draco's words shocked Issei, who couldn't process what he'd just been told and could only think one thing. What the hell? He thought with great shock. Issei had been chosen by someone who turned out to be a guardian of the multiverse, and now he has a task for him. Issei would have to find out what will happen now and what task Draco has prepared for him, but that's for another chapter. End of prologue. Chapter 1 New World and the beginning of the journey. Chapter 1. Other World. You, Haidu Issei of Dimension 34C, have been chosen to help in another world, separate from your own, Draco told Issei, who had a face like, what the hell? But then reacted. Wait, you're telling me you pulled me out of my peaceful life to go to a place I don't even know to help? What do you think I am, Captain America or something? Issei asked, looking at Draco, who was just staring at Issei with a drop of sweat on his head. No, but you see, I need you to do this, and there are no objections since you're nobody to complain. Besides, your life is currently peaceful and even boring to a certain extent. Aren't you excited about going to an interesting minion after so long? Draco said, looking at Issei, who couldn't deny it. Well, the mission is as follows. There's a world where there's a war on a continent, but the mission focuses on a particular island where several things are happening, Draco explained, as a holographic image of a huge island appeared before him. This is where you will appear. This island, believe it or not, has no name, and its inhabitants believe it is their entire world. I know it sounds crazy, but what I'm saying is true. You will appear here to quickly and safely eliminate beings called Yama, and something even worse that escaped from a distant dimension, Draco explained, saying the first part casually, but the second part seriously, to Issei, who interrupted him. Excuse me for interrupting, but you say I should eliminate those Yamas, and the way you say it sounds like an easy job for me, but the other thing seems serious. I don't know what it is, but if it's like that guy or whatever it is that brought me here, I don't think I'll be much help, to be honest, Issei said seriously to Draco, who let out a sigh and returned to his serious demeanor. It's not like White. The threat is weaker, and you, in your Diabolo's dragon god form at 100%, could only take out 70% of that enemy's power, and that's a lot for someone like you. If you summon Drag and use that Welsh dragon flare technique, you'd still only raise the percentage to about 2 or 4%. So, to reach 100% and surpass that guy, you have to train. I'll give you the tools, but that won't be for another 17 years in that place, since first you have to eliminate that guy's lackeys, Draco said to Issei, who listened attentively. Yes, that sounds complicated, but you haven't told me or shown me anything about that guy, who he is, what he looks like, or anything like that, Issei said, and Draco nodded. That's what I was getting to, his name is Baragan Luisenbairn, and he is a being known as an Arankar, Draco said, showing an image of what Baragan looks like. So he's the one I'll have to face in the future, he looks strong, Issei said, looking at the image. Yes, but don't let this appearance fool you, as this is only the form he uses to appear in the human world. This is his true form, Draco said, changing Baragan's image to a more chilling one. That image surprised Issei, who looked at Draco for an explanation. That's their true form, and to explain that form, you need to know what hollows are, Draco said to Issei, who nodded. Well, hollows are creatures that originate from the souls of the dead, who, for various reasons, don't go to the soul society or the afterlife, and lose their hearts by falling into despair or remain in the world of the living for too long. They are spirits that have become corrupted and have become malevolent entities with supernatural powers that allow them to devour the souls of humans, living or dead. They inhabit a place known as Waco Mundo, but they can appear in the world of the living whenever they wish. He explained to Issei, who nodded, before continuing. Okay, now, these are divided into classes. There are the Minos, which are basically agglomerations of hundreds or thousands of common hollows that end up generating a single composite entity with a much greater strength than any ordinary hollow. Minos appear when the void within an ordinary hollow cannot be filled by devouring human souls, ultimately driving the creature to attack other hollows. These are cannibalistic and attract each other to fission and give rise to the next class, Minos Grand. They are veritable giants compared to other hollows and Minos, reaching the size of skyscrapers. However, they lack all agility and intelligence. Despite being slow and stupid, Minos Grand possess such power that they can destroy an entire city with a tremendously powerful technique. The Zero, a blast of energy launched from their mouths, destroying everything in its path. There are cases where one of the many hollows that compose them eventually gains the upper hand and slowly begins to acquire control over the entity, reflected in a change in its mask, which is no longer the same as that of other Minos Grand. Only these latter have the potential to evolve into something more, and that is where the next type of hollow comes in. Ajuchas are Minos that have evolved from the Jillian state to a superior, much more powerful form that grants them greater intelligence and combat skills. Ajuchas are obligated to continue devouring more and more hollows, because if they don't, their minds will eventually be subjugated by the rest of the minds that make up the Minos itself. When they devour enough hollows, they evolve into the next class, the Vasto Lord, which are, by far, the most powerful and rarest class of Minos, as well as the highest evolutionary stage they can reach. They are the strongest of all those mentioned, although they still need to devour hollows to remain in their forms, they are still powerful. But the last stage a hollow can reach is the next one. The one Baragan belongs to. Arankar are hollows who have voluntarily removed their masks and have obtained, in return, Shinigami powers such as the ability to fight with a Zanpakuto and access to a release of through a process called resurrection, where they unleash their full power. There was someone stronger than Baragan named Coyote Sterk, but he was very peaceful, so one day he simply disappeared. Baragan grew stronger, his sole objective being to devour as many souls as possible. Now he commands a vast legion of hungry hollows, having torn the fabric that divides dimensions and destroyed 2 worlds. He shouldn't be strong, but this Baragon is stronger than his original version and belongs to the strongest universe in that multiverse called Bleach, Draco explained, showing images of the different evolutions of a hollow. Less big. Less or large with the possibility of evolving into a Jutcha. The Jutchas? Asked, oh lord. Wait, what do you mean, strong dimension? Issei asked. Easy, in the Omniverse there are several dimensions that are the same yet different at the same time, each one named by several of my superiors, like that one in Dragon Ball, where there's one called AF, because there are beings with powers capable of destroying universes, and one of my superiors watches over that crazy universe. It's the same here where I share work with another guy with your multiverse and the Bleach multiverse where these guys came from, Draco explained to Issei, who was really impressed, but had a question. So that means that after seeing that they couldn't continue their soul-stealing activities in their own universe, they decided to leave their universe to attack others where they can't defend themselves, right? Issei asked. Exactly, I chose you because I saw you were bored in your universe and all that, well what better way to get rid of boredom than to do this job? Besides, I'll prevent you from being missing for too long in your universe. For that, I'll ask one of my superiors for help so that time between universes runs differently, Draco said, and Issei nodded. Okay, so you'll send me now, or Issei asked. Yes, you'll have a little problem with that, to be honest, Draco said, sounding somewhat unsure. What do you mean? Issei asked suspiciously. Nothing bad, but this will help you get used to this new world, Draco said, moving his hand toward Issei and opening his palm. I'm new to this, so don't get angry, he said, opening a throat behind Issei and sending him inside with a shockwave. Oh, by the way, when you get there, most of your powers will be sealed, but I'll let you keep those techniques you learned from the Meteor Dragon and also the Balance Breaker, but at the power level you used against Volley the first time at the faction meeting. So be careful who you face, because you won't even touch a hair on the head of a high-level Ajutcha or Amino's Grand with a different mask, Draco told Issei, who had "Are you seriously messing with me?" look on his face. Damn it, you should have warned me sooner. Issei shouted as he was swallowed by the darkness in his throat. I should have told him, but that doesn't matter anymore. Well, I have to go see Chrono so he can help me with the time thing, Draco said, then sped off from the place. Time skip. Unknown island. On the island where this story begins, a gorge opens in its skies to the island's marine coasts to be specific. From the gorge, a shadow was expelled at great speed, crashing hard against the ground, scaring away the animals that were in the surroundings, leaving a small crater equivalent to the size of the body that crashed. Ugh, that hurts, damn it, at least it could have left me on the ground, the brunette complained as Drake's gem manifested on the back of his left hand. What's wrong, Drake? Did you feel something nearby? Issei asked. Yes, but there's something more important you need to realize first, my friend said the dragon to Issei, who looked at the gem with surprise. Find a lake or river so you can see what I'm talking about, said Drake. I don't know why you want me to do that, but I'll do it anyway, Issei said, walking calmly through the forest. He walked for 10 minutes, looking for a river or something, until he reached a river that flowed into the sea. He saw something that shocked him. What the hell, he said, seeing his reflection in the water. But what shocked him? Well, it was simple. First, he didn't notice his own voice because he was thinking about other things, and that affected him greatly. Second, when he saw his reflection in the water, he realized, I'm a kid again. He screamed in despair at the realization. And what did he do? The most common thing among desperate people. Run in circles while screaming, it can't be. It can't be. It can't be. The brown-haired boy said as he continued running in circles. Partner, Drake said, but was ignored by Issei. Partner, calm down dude, that's enough dude, Drake said, trying to get his attention, but without any result, and was already starting to get fed up with it. Damn it, shut up you bastard. Drake yelled and Issei stopped. What's wrong? Issei asked, looking at the gem in his hand. First, stop talking nonsense. Second, in case you haven't noticed, we're already in the other world, so we need to move quickly, because we can send several power signatures in the distance that are superior to a common human, but are half corrupted, along with some that are corrupted and some that are too strong as a low-level dragon or a mid to high-class demon. There are a few that are as strong as Kakabiel when he attacked the academy, but beyond that, nothing else can be felt. Drake spoke to Issei. You're right, and one of them is approaching this way quickly and seems to be strong, so it's best to lower our power, and I'm leaving that to you, friend, Issei said after sensing someone heading towards where he was. No problem, leave that to me, you just worry about saying you got lost or something like that, Drake said, and Issei nodded. At that moment his presence and power decreased until he had that of an ordinary human. 5 minutes later, the presence they had sensed approaching arrived. It was a woman dressed in a light gray two-piece suit with several pieces of plate armor. Shin high metal boots, high heels, large wrist guards, pauldrons, and a partial skirt, along with a short gray cape. The woman was attractive, with long pale hair, an aquiline nose, and elf-like ears. Her silver eyes and calm expression made her face seem alluring. Issei found her attractive, but the brown-haired boy had to remain vigilant to avoid any trouble. The woman in question is Irene, Claymore number 2, who looked at the crater where Issei fell, and then at the brunette who had returned to the place to get his bearings. The good thing for Issei was that Draco had changed his clothes and put him in something more appropriate for the place. Imagine Issei wearing Nafumi-sama's clothes, but without the shield and the breastplate. "What are you doing in a place like this?" Irene asked, eyeing Issei suspiciously, wondering if he was some Yama disguised as a child. "Well, I was exploring the place when I heard a sound and came to see what it was, and I found the crater and you," Issei said, seeing how Irene looked at him cautiously. You don't seem to be afraid of me, that's very strange," Irene said, looking at Issei, who just shrugged at that. "Yes, I know what they say about the Claymores and all, but I don't care much. I mean, they were once human and they defend us from the Yama, so no, I'm not afraid of you," Issei said, impressing Irene a little. "You're weird, kid, but putting that aside, do you know what crashed here?" Irene asked, wanting to know what happened. "Nope, like I said, I heard something crash and I came to see, maybe whatever crashed escaped her, who knows," Issei said to Irene, who looked at the crater and then turned to leave. "Are you leaving already?" Issei said, and she looked at him over her shoulder. "Yes, I have nothing to do here," Irene said, preparing to leave. "What is your name?" Issei asked, stopping Irene because of that question. "Why do you want to know?" "You'll forget it anyway," Irene said. "I don't think so, besides, I have a feeling that we'll see each other again someday," said Issei. Irene, without turning around, looked surprised by that. "Well, Irene is my name, boy," Irene said to Issei, who nodded in response. "Issei, hi to Issei, even if you don't ask, that's my name." "Well, I'll leave you now, I have to get out of the forest and go home," said Issei, walking in the opposite direction from Irene. The Claymore took one last look at Issei and the crater before leaving the place at top speed for her next job. With Issei was walking towards the small town a few kilometers from the sea while talking to Drake about their previous encounter. "She's strong, but I feel like there's someone stronger than her. What do you think, Drake?" Issei asked his friend. "Well, the truth is as you say, but we have to be prepared since there are still no signs that one of those hollows is out there and we can only unleash the balance breaker and those abilities you learned with Tannen and the other dragons, so you can't be overconfident. This isn't like when you started as a pawn of your red-haired wife, so we can't just stand idly by," my friend Drake said to Issei, who agreed. "Yes, but first we need to learn more about this place and the rest of this world, and judging by my appearance I'm about 5 years old, so we'll have plenty of time since I doubt they'll attack soon, so friend we have a long way to go, so let's go," said Issei, raising his fist. "Of course, mate," Drake said to his friend. And so they continued their journey in this new world, where beings that devour humans are commonplace, but with the Claymores there to prevent them from causing trouble. They were unaware that soul-devouring beings were nearby and that a dragon from another world walked among the people. A threat from another world clashed with a hero from another world on a battlefield that belonged to neither of them and that would affect life in this new world. But this had to be avoided at all costs. The beginning of Issei's journey in this world was just starting and his presence would bring great things to this place. End of Chapter 1. Chapter 2 Rifle of the West and meeting Teresa of the Faint Smile. Chapter 2. -1 week later. North of the city of Tucheri. Issei had been in this new world for a week and ever since he encountered a Claymore, he'd been traveling from city to city, exploring the place. He discovered that the island was incredibly isolated as people seemed to only talk about the cities located on it and that there was nothing beyond the vast ocean. Issei and Drake thought that was strange but decided to continue. This takes us to the Lothric region in the west of the island where at this moment he was walking. "Seriously, this is all bullshit," said the chestnut-haired man, walking along a path through the forest. "Stop complaining, just a little longer and we'll be out of here," Drake said, and Issei scoffed. Yeah, whatever, it's all because of that damn hollow that got away, and now we have to finish him off before things get worse," Issei said, and he was right. In the previous village, Tucheri, where he spent the night, besides seeing a Claymore take down a local Yama and then leave, a damn hollow appeared and started devouring souls. He used a BXB technique, but the bastard managed to escape and now they're looking for him. If they let him run free, he'll start causing problems because the more souls he devours, the stronger he becomes. "Damn hollow," Issei said, walking along the path. "Yes, who would have thought it was fast?" Drake said, remembering when the soul-devouring beast escaped quickly upon sensing danger, but not before killing 5 people. I just hope this ends quickly since I want to see the world," Issei said, now holding Ascalon in his hands. After walking for a while, until he had ventured deeper into the surrounding forest north of Ticheri, he came across the ruins of a castle. "Wow, look what we just found," said Issei. "You know what, you talk like you have venom inside you, you know that if someone saw you they would think you were crazy, right?" Drake said, and Issei nodded in agreement. "You're absolutely right, my friend, you're absolutely right," Issei said when he felt someone watching him. "You feel it, right?" Drake said. "For a moment now," Issei said, holding Ascalon firmly in his hands. Well, look what we have here, tell me little one, are you lost or something?" asked a young female voice from somewhere. Issei looked from where the voice came and saw a small girl with dark brown hair and a white dress sitting on top of some castle rubble. She was more or less a little taller than him, remember that Issei is younger in this story. "You haven't answered my question, tell me little one, are you lost?" the girl asked again. "Not exactly," Issei replied, alert. "She's strong, I'd say stronger than any Yama I've ever seen. I think I could escape with the balance breaker, though I'd have to fight to do it tch, damn the day I can't use my powers properly," Issei thought, still staring at the girl who smiled with a clear falseness on her face. "Oh, so that means you came here of your own free will?" the girl asked. "I'm looking for something," Issei said. "We have to be ready at any moment, Drake. I can barely react to the great speed of most hollows, so fighting without the balance breaker would be stupid." "Don't worry, I'll have everything ready," Drake said. The girl looked at Issei and smiled. "You know, little one," she said, drawing Issei's attention, "you have a different scent, different from any human, something more monstrous." The girl climbed down from where she was. "I find it interesting, you know," she said, still looking at Issei. "Oh? I say the same about you, you're not exactly human, are you?" Issei asked, already knowing the answer. The girl laughed a little in response and looked at him. "That's right, I'm not human," she replied, walking around Issei. "And as such, I imagine you know what I am, I suppose," she said to Issei, now standing in front of the entrance to the ruined castle. "Yama," Issei said seriously, to which she smiled. "Oh, little one, that look is so endearing, but you're mistaken about something," she said, as a large iron beam emerged from the darkness of the castle, hurtling towards Issei, who quickly moved. "Oh, you have good reflexes to escape Doff's attack, little one, but as I was saying, you're wrong about something." "Yes, I am a Yama, but I am one of the strong ones," she said. "Awakening," Issei said, already knowing what he was facing. "Oh, so you know about us, haha, you're not normal, kid," said the girl as her hair attacked Issei. The little brunette quickly dodged the attack and decided to act now. "Brag, now," Issei shouted. "Of course, partner." Balance breaker, and so the armor appeared at normal size. "Okay, I don't understand why the armor is like it's my normal self, but it doesn't matter," Issei said, looking at the armor and then at the girl. "You, tell me who you are," Issei said, but she ignored him. "Tell me, kid, how did you do that? Was it magic?" the girl asked, eyeing the armor with interest. Issei almost fell over at her question, but he decided to ignore it. "It doesn't matter if it was magic or not, tell me who you are," Issei demanded. "Well, it doesn't matter, after all you'll die and I'll tell you my name, so you know who killed you," the girl said arrogantly. "I am Rifle of the West, and I am the one who will devour you, boy," the girl said, attacking again with her hair, but this time it was easier for Issei to dodge the attack. "Well, first of all, that devour me thing sounded really weird, and second, you think you're going to kill me, so I'd better, but what the hell?" Issei shouted, dodging an iron beam again. Okay, what's going on here?" Issei asked, seeing Rifle smiling. "Do you think I'll just let you go like that?" she asked, sitting down again. "Doff, kill him," she said, looking at the dark entrance of the castle, when footsteps were slowly heard and a strange tall, muscular man emerged from the shadows. "Rifle, do I have to take out the guy in armor?" the man asked stupidly to Rifle, who nodded. "If Doff kills that child, I believe that if I consume him I can become stronger, so go, kill him," she ordered, and the man nodded, walking slowly towards Issei. "Something tells me that guy is more than he seems," Issei said. When he saw the guy change form, that really surprised him. "Great, not just a female awakened being, but a male one too. What damn luck I have," Issei said, seeing the Doff's new form. "It's time to finish you off, kid," Doff said, opening his mouth to launch several metal bars, or whatever they were made of. Issei dodged them with ease, which began to annoy Doff. "Stop moving." The awakened being shouted angrily, seeing Issei stop and look at him through the helmet of his armor. "Are you an idiot? I'm supposed to save my own skin, and dodging is the best way to do that. Neither you nor that stupid girl will tell me what to do," Issei said, teasing Doff with the last part. "Don't call Rifle stupid," he yelled, spewing bars from his mouth again as he approached. Issei dodged the monster's attacks and backed away, knowing it intended to strike him with its massive fists. Several minutes passed, during which Rifle watched with interest as Issei easily escaped Off's attacks. "Wow, that kid is interesting, too bad I'm hungry, otherwise I would have forced him to tell me how he pulled that armor out of thin air," said Rifle. "In your dreams, which?" Issei shouted, dodging the attacks. "Stop insulting Rifle." Doff shouted angrily again, this time throwing punches that opened large holes in the ground upon impact. "DCH, you damn mechanical freak, you're boring me now." Issei shouted angrily, preparing a dragon shot. "You know he won't kill him, right?" Drake said. "Yes, I know, but at least it'll give us time to get out of here and keep looking for that damn hollow," Issei thought. "Die." Doff shouted, "But. Sorry, buddy, I have a lot to do, and I didn't survive the apocalypse just to get killed by an idiot like you," Issei said, launching his attack. "Dragon shot." Issei shouted. A surge of energy struck Doff, leaving him lying on the ground, completely disoriented. Issei would take advantage of this to escape, but. "I told you wouldn't leave." Rifle shouted, extending his left hand, which changed to a dark color. Issei, annoyed at being interrupted in what he had to do, decided to cut off his arm. Thus the blade of Ascalon came out and easily sliced Rifle's arm. "Ugh. You damn brat." He screamed with a sharp pain that literally felt like he was burning. He pulled back what was left of his arm and looked at the cauterized wound. "But how?" he asked, seeing that his forearm was gone and couldn't regenerate. "How did you do this, brat?" Rifle yelled angrily, but being distracted, she saw that Issei was gone. "You bastard brat, I swear when I find him I'll devour him." She screamed angrily. Rifle. Are you okay?" asked Off, worried about his partner. She looked at him. "No, I'm not well, let's go back inside, that stupid brat really bothered me," Rifle said, and Doff nodded, following him into the castle ruins. But Issei. The chestnut tree, now without its armor, was 3 kilometers away from where it had been before. "Damn, that girl was really annoying, and that cheap version of Colossus was annoying too," Issei said, walking with Ascalon in hand, looking for the bastard hollow who led him there to slice him into little pieces. "It's a good thing that woman underestimated you, because if she had gotten serious, we would have had more trouble getting out of there," Drake said, and Issei nodded. "Yes, let's finish looking for that hollow son of a bitch and get out of here," said Issei, looking at his hand where he had Rifle's hand and forearm. When he was about to throw it away, Drake stopped him. "Wait, don't throw it away," Drake said, to which Issei thought he had lost a screw. "Are you crazy? What do I want this for?" he asked, raising the crazy woman's arm. "That makes sense, I mean Claymores are half Yama, therefore they were human before, right?" said Drake, and Issei began to understand. "You mean they were made half Yama?" Issei asked. "Basically, I also imagine they must have used some part of a Yama to make them like that, so what would happen if you used that part to make a Claymore?" Drake said, and Issei nodded. "She'd be a really strong Claymore, you know, it reminds me of Tokyo Ghoul with Kaneki and his powers, but oh well," he replied. "Exactly, so keep that for when you need it, you never know when you'll meet someone who wants to become a Claymore," said Drake, and Issei, using a little ice magic, froze the member to store it in his pocket dimension. "Okay, let's go, that thing might be." I heard a creak and saw the hollow watching him before running away. "Damn it, let's go," Issei shouted, running after the hollow. The little chestnut tree got lost on the path through the forest while searching for its lost target. This world was more interesting and annoying than I expected. -5 years later. Island. Tomorrow. Theo City. "So you're saying there's a bucking hollow here in this city?" thought the brown-haired boy, dressed the same, Issei, who was carrying a leather bag full of apples. "Yes, in this city a hollow has been taking advantage of the fact that there is a Yama and has begun to devour souls at will," Drake told Issei. "And how do you know there's a Yama here?" Issei asked while eating an apple. "Easy, buddy, those Yama have a rotten presence and the hollow's a dark one, it's easy to tell if you concentrate," Drake explained. "Are you implying that I can't distinguish the auras of those two?" Issei thought. No, well, yes," Drake said, teasing Issei. "Don't get angry, you were never good at concentrating on these things, or don't you remember before we left the island you got confused and ended up killing a Yama?" Drake asked. "You have a point, but anyway, putting that aside, do you know exactly where it is?" Issei asked. I couldn't tell you for sure where it is, but it is in this city, that much is certain," Drake said. "Ah, I don't even know why I ask you," Issei said as he walked through the streets of Theo City, looking for something out of the ordinary. He found it in the form of a crowd gathered in the town square. "What's going on?" Issei wondered, approaching the scene to see what was happening. As he got closer, he saw 4 human corpses. "Yamas? I imagine those are the ones you sensed, right?" he asked Drake. "Yes, and if you look to your left you'll see that one of them has a little girl with him." She's human, I imagine she's his escape ticket, although with that Claymore near the corpses, I let him go. She's very strong, Drake said, and Issei looked where he said to see a girl the same size as him, since they were only the same age in terms of body size. He saw that there was a strange-looking guy holding her, then he looked where the corpses were to see the Claymore counting them, and got quite a surprise. She's beautiful, Issei thought, his eyes wide. The beautiful Claymore finished counting. One's missing, she said softly. She started looking around. Where she glanced around, sensing the Yama's energy, but her eyes met Issei's. She felt a strange energy, unlike anything she'd ever felt. What is that kid? His energy, it's not normal, the blonde thought, momentarily setting that aside to continue searching for the Yama. Well, okay, what if I can't find him? What would happen? She asked, activating her eyes, which changed for a second to amber before returning to silver and disappearing from where she was. Everyone was wondering where she was, everyone except Issei, who was already watching as the blonde turned her back on the weird guy with the girl. The weird guy said when the blonde looked at him over her shoulder. Did you think you could use that girl as a shield? The blonde asked as the guy was split in half from chest to head, releasing a large amount of blood that splattered those nearby. Why several shouted. Wow, she's fast, though not as fast as Kiba, Issei thought, then noticed a shadow moving down an alley a few meters away. Drake, is that Issei asked. Yes, and it's a powerful one. Prepare to use maximum firepower. We have to burn those sons of the devil alive, Drake said. Calm down, old man, Issei said, taking advantage of the commotion to leave the place, but he was watched closely by the Claymore, who saw him quickly disappear into an alley. That was fast, thought the Claymore, watching Issei disappear. But Issei. The small chestnut tree moved, following the shadow that was swift through several alleyways of the city. Damn it, stay still, you bastard. Issei yelled, reaching for the shadow and revealing a large humanoid hollow with a fish mask and a dorsal fin on its back. Its shoulders and arms were covered with what appeared to be part of its mask, and its body was covered in dark gray stripes, resembling fish scales. It stopped in a deserted street. Issei stood close to it. Until you stop, you don't know the trouble you cause, Issei said, drawing Ascalon and staring at the hollow. How can you see me? The hollow asked Issei. What are you talking about? That's very interesting, said Issei, ignoring the question from the hollow, who was annoyed. Answer me once and for all, human. He demanded. Hey, don't talk to me like that, you hear? The way I see you is simple, like a really ugly guy, so don't demand questions from me, Issei said, teasing the hollow. Damn human, you've angered me, I'll eat your soul. The hollow shouted. A few meters away, the blonde Claymore watched Issei and, more importantly, the creature that was stronger than a Yama but possessed a different kind of energy. She had only seen such creatures a few times before and always from a distance, as she had now. She knew they had disappeared one day until a few months ago when they started reappearing, but it wasn't the organization's fault. She saw Issei staring indifferently at the creature. The blonde watched with interest, wondering how he would stop it, but what happened next shocked her. But Issei, the chestnut-haired boy, looked at the creature indifferently. The hollow was annoyed and he didn't care, he just wanted to end it and go rest. Look, don't complicate things further, so be a good fish face and stay still so I can kill you, Issei said, teasing the hollow, who got annoyed. I'm fed up with you. The hollow shouted, lunging at Issei, a grave mistake. You underestimate me, idiot, Issei said, raising Ascalon into the air and then delivering a fatal slash. The hollow couldn't react in time when it was cut in half. Impossible, said the hollow, then vanished in dark smoke. Issei stood there, watching with boredom as the hollow disappeared. Issei was getting tired. In every city he visited, there were 1 or 5 hollows. He needed a break. How boring, I'd better go rest, said Issei, pretending to be clueless since he knew the blonde Claymore had been watching him. Is she still there? Issei asked. Yes, Drake said. It doesn't matter, I'd better go rest at an inn. Selling medicine does pay well, Issei thought as he left the alley and looked for the main street of the city. As Issei left, the Claymore emerged from the same alley and watched Issei walk away. That boy is keeping a lot of secrets, said Claymore, then looked for somewhere to sleep. Later that day. Sunset. A few hours had passed since the hollow incident and the chestnut-haired boy had already woken from his short nap. Night was beginning to fall and Issei had already left Theo City. He walked calmly through the forest on the outskirts of the city. I hope I don't run into a Yama, I swear if I do, I'll break its legs, Issei said, walking. Relax, partner, you know those Yamas are weak, Drake said to Issei, who nodded. I just hope nothing crazy happens, Issei said as he continued walking. Hours passed and Issei saw that it was getting dark, so he would look for a place to spend the night until he heard a noise and felt a strong presence. He knew who it was, so when he arrived at the source of power, he saw the beautiful blonde and the girl from before, although the blonde was pointing her sword at the girl. Claire is a child. You know, it's rude to spy on others, kid, said the blonde without even turning to look at Issei. Well, technically I wasn't spying on you, Issei said, slowly approaching the two of them, but he readied his weapon since he knew they were surrounded. The blonde looked at Issei with a raised eyebrow at the mention of the weapon, but she soon understood when a figure fell from a nearby tree, ready to attack. The blonde dodged, ending up close to the girl, and as she was about to cut off the attacker's head, thinking he was a Yama. Huh? A human? He thought, stopping his attack in its tracks. The girl exclaimed when another guy touched her shoulder, but… Slash. Ah. The subject screamed as Issei mercilessly cut off his forearm and kicked him in the ribs, sending him flying towards the other subjects who were bandits. Well, my quiet night is ruined, Issei said, annoyed. For a kid, you do have a great vocabulary, the blonde said to Issei, who looked at her. Ah, I'm older than I look, Issei said to the Claymore, then looked at the bandits who were talking about the blonde. She's a Claymore, one said. She's a silver-eyed witch, said another. Damn bandits, always causing trouble, Issei muttered irritably. Listen, we don't have anything of value. Well, I do, but even so, it's not in your best interest to try and rob me since heads rolled last time. And you'd better cover your friend's wound, because otherwise, he'll bleed to death, Issei said. The bandit saw him and started laughing. Issei glared at them, annoyed. It had happened to him before, and he'd set fire to a small part of the forest with bandits inside. Laugh all you damned bastards, laugh, because when I catch you, Issei muttered angrily. Listen to the boy, you must check on your friend or he will die, said the blonde. Haha, you're funny, brat, someone said, emerging from the shadows. He was the leader of this group. He looked at the trio with an arrogant smile. To think I ran into a silver-eyed witch here of all places, haha, this must be my lucky day, said the man, who shamelessly stared at the blonde's body. You're a very beautiful woman with a great body, the guy said unpleasantly. Issei and the blonde stared at him expressionlessly. It seems some people have a desire to die, Issei thought. Wait, boss, it could be dangerous. They're also known as the silver-eyed assassins, one of his henchmen told his leader, who just smiled confidently. I don't care. Besides, I've heard that those of your kind have rules against killing humans, the leader said, surprising everyone, even Issei, who hadn't known about it since he hadn't paid much attention to it. It's an absolute rule. They can't kill a human, no matter the circumstances, even if it's an accident. If one of them breaks that rule, the other Claymores will unite to take their head, the older bandit said with a look of victory. Nothing could be further from the truth. Is what that guy says true? Issei asked the blonde, who nodded. Everyone's afraid of those hybrids, and a rule like that is the only way people can trust them, the man said. Okay, that's enough of this crap. You've already spoken, and it's best if you finish and leave. If you saw what I did to that guy, you'll know with all that experience you have that I'm more than I seem, Issei said, completely annoyed. The boss looked into Issei's eyes and swore he saw a red beast looking at him. The guy took a step back, much to the surprise of all his henchmen. Boss, what's wrong with you? He's just a kid. Let me handle him, said one of the men, approaching Issei while cracking his knuckles. Alright, brat, stop playing hero and go. He didn't finish, because a loud crash was heard. Bang. There stood Issei with a firearm in his hand. He had found it a year ago in his pocket dimension, along with another artifact very familiar to him. Issei looked emotionlessly at the now deceased man who had a hole in his head, then turned to the frightened subjects who backed away. Let this be an example. Subjects like you disgust me. Killing, stealing, raping, all for fun and pleasure. You better leave or I'll fill you with lead, Issei said, firing at some trees, scaring the subjects who had no choice but to pick up the one-armed man from the ground and start to leave. Someone cover Rig's wound and you, brat, I won't forget this, said the leader, and Issei just gave him the middle finger. Screw you, Issei said, watching them leave, as the one-armed man named Rig glared at Issei with hatred. You damn brat, this won't end like this, said the one-armed man. Well, you see I don't care, so leave or I'll kill you all. Issei said angrily. Once the guys were gone, Issei holstered his weapon and re-sheathed Ascalon. He turned to face the blonde girl standing in front of him. Hi, Issei said, noticing that the silver-eyed blonde was staring at him without looking away. Tell me, boy, what are you? The blonde asked seriously. Wow, that's polite. Where I come from, one should introduce oneself before asking for the name of others, said Issei, and the blonde just sighed. Ah, why do you want to know my name? The blonde asked. You know, a Claymore told me the same thing earlier. Her name is Irene. Do you know her? Issei asked, to which the blonde nodded. "Okay, my name is Teresa, the number one Claymore of the organization," said the woman now known as Teresa, and Issei nodded. "Well, my name is Issei, hi to Issei. First of all, I have to clarify that despite looking 10 years old, I am 23 years old. Don't ask why I look like this, it's a secret," said Issei. "But you haven't told me who you are," Teresa said. "You wouldn't believe me if I told you, but oh well, you'll have to accept that I'm not human." "I won't say anything else," Issei said, and she nodded resignedly. Issei looked at the girl, who got scared and hid behind Teresa, who tried to pull her away. "Do you know her?" Issei asked. "No, she's been clinging to me ever since I left Theo after killing the Yama who was using her as a shield. I don't know how to get rid of her," Teresa said, pushing the girl off her. Issei sighed and approached her, which startled the girl, so he tried to calm her down. "Okay, don't be afraid, I won't hurt you," Issei said. "That's what a rapist says to his victim before attacking her," Drake said, and Issei almost fell over at that. "You're sick, Bruce Wayne. How the hell could you say that to me?" Issei said to Drake, who burst out laughing. Issei brushed that off and approached the girl. "So don't worry," Issei said in a soothing voice that calmed the girl, who just looked at him. "Tell me, are you hungry?" Issei asked, to which she shyly nodded. "Me too, so here," Issei said, taking a piece of bread and cheese from the bag he had hidden under his cloak. She looked at it with a twinkle in her eye. "Come on, eat," Issei said, and the girl nodded, taking the bread and cheese to eat them quickly. "Wow, you're really hungry, haha. Well, I'll prepare food for both of you, since I imagine you won't eat, right?" Issei asked Teresa, who nodded with her usual smile. "No, thanks for asking, kid," Teresa said, and Issei nodded. "Well, since you're apparently going to feed him, you can use the campfire I lit earlier," Teresa offered. "Thank you," Issei said, turning to the little girl who was looking at him. "Come on, little girl, I'll make you something," he said, heading towards the campfire with the girl following him. Teresa saw Issei and thought something. Should I warn them about him? Although from what I could tell, he's been holding back all this time. It's best not to say anything about him to the organization, since it would cause problems, Teresa thought, then approached where the boys were, but before she did, she looked at the body with a hole in its head and just kicked it hard away from them. Issei met Teresa of the weak smile, the best Claymore of this generation, and also met a peculiar girl who doesn't speak at all and follows Teresa. He also dispatched some bandits. Now what will happen? Only the author knows. End of Chapter 2. Chapter 3 Wild night and a trip together before the chaos. Chapter 3. It was still night and Issei was awake, sitting against a tree, and the girl was lying next to him. Teresa, who by the way was not asleep, was staring at Issei without blinking, and that was starting to make Issei uncomfortable. "Okay, that's really weird, could you stop staring at me?" Issei asked. "I'm still intrigued by what you are. After all, a simple I'm not human won't satisfy me. Are you a semi-yama or something like that?" Teresa asked, intrigued, sitting a few meters away from Issei with her sword as a backrest. "Ah, I already told you to accept that I'm not human, I won't say any more, so please stop looking at me, it's very strange," Issei said uncomfortably. She said nothing and just kept looking at Issei, who dropped his head in defeat. "This is going to be a really long night," thought the chestnut-haired man, while Drake slept soundly. Hours passed until something disturbed Issei's tranquility. He could sense a dark power coming from a few meters south of their position, and it could only mean one thing. "Hello," thought the chestnut-haired man as he got up from his seat, but not before placing the little girl on his cloak, which he rolled into a ball to use as a pillow. "What's wrong, kid?" Teresa asked, intrigued, as she saw Issei get up. "Doesn't she feel it? I'd better not let her get close. It would be very dangerous for a Claymore, even if she's the best of them all, although something tells me that's not the case," Issei thought, before coming up with the greatest excuse ever told. "Physiological needs," Issei said. "What?" Teresa asked, raising an eyebrow. "Damn, that word doesn't exist here," Issei said, and she finally understood. "I'm going to the bathroom." "Well," she said simply, without taking her eyes off Issei, who had a blank expression because of the silver-eyed blonde's behavior. "Okay, I'll be right back," Issei said, walking towards the bushes under Teresa's watchful eye. She decided to follow him once she felt they were at a safe distance, which was bad news for her, since Issei sensed her. Damn, he's persistent. Oh well, I'd better go see what kind of hollow it is. I hope it's a weak one since I'm fed up. I can't sleep and I want to sit down for a little while longer, Issei thought, walking towards where he could feel the rotten spiritual energy. When he arrived at the spot, he could see a gorge from which several Ajuka-class hollows were emerging. There were about 15 of them, and they were about to disperse, but Issei decided to act quickly. So, he summoned Ascalon, impressing Teresa with this. But when she looked closely at what he was launching himself at, she visibly tensed up. These things were dangerous. She had already faced some that were faster than her and had barely escaped with her life, but here was the brown-haired boy launching himself at the group of 15 to fight. "Good night," Issei said, cutting off the head of one of the hollows so that it disappeared in black smoke. "And goodbye," Issei said as he was quickly surrounded by 6 of the remaining hollows. One, who appeared to be the leader, opened his mouth, charging energy in it. A damn zero was charging, so Issei, to avoid devastating damage, decided to act quickly. "Balance breaker," shouted the brunette under Teresa's stunned gaze, a crimson armor covered Issei. "Welsh dragon balance breaker." Drake's voice echoed throughout the area. Double blade. Drake's voice echoed again, and 2 sword blades emerged from the wrists of the armor's arms. Without wasting any time, Issei sliced in half the hollow in front of him, which was standing in his way against the leader who was charging the zero. Issei quickly cut the leader in half as the upper part of him fell backward, releasing a torrent of energy into the sky. It was as strong as a dragon shoot charged with 20 increases as the body dissolved into black smoke. "Alright, it's time to." He couldn't finish because another zero hit him, this one delivered by a hollow stronger than the rest. The chestnut-haired man in armor was sent flying into some trees that disintegrated from the attack. The 13 hollows then rushed at Issei. "Damn it, I was only distracted for a second," the chestnut-haired man complained, getting to his feet again and looking at the group of hollows coming for him. "These bastards, Drake, quick, give me augmentations," Issei said. "Sure partner. Boost, 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 boost." The boost sounded, filling Issei with power. "Alright, it's time to put this technique to the test," Issei said, fully summoning Ascalon and taking it in his hands. "Transfer the power, Drake," Issei said. Transfer, and the energy was sent to the Dragonslayer weapon, which acquired a strong aura that was felt throughout the place. Even Teresa, who just watched the boy, who was leaving her more and more impressed, she was speechless because of the energy that Ascalon released. "Beat this," Issei shouted, raising Ascalon and quickly bringing it down, unleashing a wave of energy against 6 hollows who couldn't dodge the attack. "Dragon Slash," Issei yelled, the name of the attack that reduced the number of hollows to 7. "Alright, it's time to finish this, promotion tonight," Issei said as his armor changed. "Change Welsh Sonic Boost Night." But Drake's voice from the central gem as Issei's armor became thinner. "Here we go," Issei said, launching himself at the remaining hollows, who hadn't expected the change in speed, but it was too late. Issei used all the speed this form could offer him at that moment. "Die," Issei shouted, slicing the hollows into pieces, who were helpless against the sudden speed. The Claymore spectator was amazed, although it wasn't that much speed, because he was still small and his body had limitations of movement. He was able to easily finish off those beings that gave the Claymores problems around the world or the island, since they don't know what is beyond the island, so she decided to return so that Issei wouldn't notice her, without knowing that he did from the beginning. "She's gone, huh? Well, it's time to head back too," Issei said, surveying the destruction caused by their little skirmish. He then walked off in the moonlight. "It's a beautiful night, or early morning, to be exact," Issei said, walking back and seeing Teresa asleep. "Please don't follow me again, it's very annoying," Issei said, approaching the tree where the little girl slept peacefully. "You discovered me. Well, I was curious to know where you were going. I never imagined you'd be fighting against those things. Does that make it even more certain that it's you?" Teresa said, but Issei just looked at her. "Just don't do it again," Issei said, settling down on the floor to try and get some sleep. "And stop staring at me, I won't say anything," Issei said with his eyes closed and his brow furrowed as he felt Teresa's gaze on him. "It was worth a try," Teresa said with her typical smile. Issei just sighed in annoyance and closed his eyes, telling Drake to let him know about anything and wake him up in a few hours to continue his journey, which would probably cross paths with Teresa's. Time skip. Walking on high ground, Issei, Teresa and the girl were one following the other. "Why are you following me?" Issei asked without turning to look at Teresa, who was being followed by the girl to whom Issei had given a full breakfast so that she wouldn't be sick. "Curiosity," was Claymore's simple reply. "Ah, you know what? Do whatever you want," Issei declared, continuing on his way. After a while, he stopped at the edge of the cliff, looking down at the bay. In the distance, he spotted a pond that looked like it was probably drinkable, so he glanced at Teresa and the girl. "There's water down there. I know you don't care about the girl, but she follows you around, so I'm worried because you follow me. She also needs to bathe since she smells like Yama blood, so we'll go down," the brown-haired boy said. "Fine," Teresa said simply. This woman was getting on Issei's nerves with her simple answers. "Okay, come here, little one, I'll help you down," said Issei, and the girl approached so that Issei could pick her up like a princess and then jump into the void. The little girl was scared and clung tightly to the brunette. After a minute of falling, Issei touched the ground and lowered the little girl. He saw how the Claymore looked at him impressed since he had just jumped into the void and she had to climb down the rocks to the ground, which she did. You're impressive. Not all Claymores, if any, can drop like that without getting hurt, Teresa said. Yes, let's continue, Issei said, downplaying the matter. You're not very talkative, are you? Teresa said. What right do you have to say that? Issei said, somewhat annoyed. The girl followed Issei for a while until the three of them reached the pond where it was full of water. Issei took his magically modified canteen with a 10-liter capacity and then used magic to remove the impurities from the water so that it was drinkable normally. Alright, kid, you can take a bath to get rid of the smell while I go hunt for something to eat, I'm hungry, said Issei, walking towards the forest. Didn't you just eat 2 hours ago? Teresa asked. I need to eat regularly to maintain my energy, Issei said, going off to find something to eat. Only a few gunshots were heard for about 5 minutes and in another 5 minutes Issei returned with a large deer that would be his meal. It seems you fared well, Teresa said as the girl sat behind a rock while her clothes were drying on it. She has several marks on her back. It seems people stayed away from her because she was taken by the Yama, Teresa said, pointing to where the girl was. Poor thing, it's not her fault that they took those things as an alibi for infiltration, Issei said, sitting down on the floor and taking a plastic tarp out of his bag, which interested Teresa because of the material. What's that? I haven't seen anything like it. Is there some new material? Teresa asked, interested in the canvas Issei had pulled out. Ah, it's true that we don't have this here, let's just say I made it myself, it's called a tarp and it's made of plastic, I won't say more since it's complicated, but what I can say is that this can be used to avoid getting wet on rainy days and such, said Issei, taking a knife to begin butchering the animal. Wow, that's really innovative, Teresa said, sitting down a few feet away from Issei, watching him skin the deer, removing its hide and leaving only the meat. He then began the process of extracting the edible parts of the animal. For someone with your appearance, it's rare to see you so calm while preparing an animal for food, Teresa said, trying to make conversation for some strange reason. Well, I've lived alone here for a long time, so it's normal for me to hunt and prepare my own food. Besides, like I said, appearances can be deceiving and mine can fool anyone, Issei said without taking his eyes off his work. Oh, you're like a Claymore. We live longer than humans, we live for years and our appearance is the same, Teresa said to Issei, who remained unfazed. Well, I know an old man who's about 6,000 years old, so it doesn't surprise me, Issei said, now surprising Teresa. 6,000 years? That's impressive, said Teresa. It stops being that way when you live with him, Issei said, remembering Azazel. After that they said nothing, and Issei continued his work in silence. An hour later, the food was ready. Issei gave the girl a piece of meat, while the chestnut-haired man made dried meat for the journey, eating several large pieces of meat himself. Then they continued on their way to the next city where Teresa wanted to leave the girl, although something told Issei that he was growing fond of her, even though it seemed strange coming from a Claymore. So they spent another day where, after having breakfast of venison that Issei had stored in his pocket dimension, they continued walking while Teresa asked 1 or 2 things every hour, all related to Issei's abnormal strength, since a wild bear appeared and Issei knocked it out since it was female, and its cubs appeared minutes later. That brings us to the night of the second day of the journey. At this point, Teresa and Issei knew the girl's name. It was Claire, whose name resembled one of the twin goddesses of love in this world, Teresa being the other name. Issei, Teresa, and a sleeping Claire, who was lying against a large rock with a blanket courtesy of Issei, were sitting watching the campfire, with Teresa looking at Claire. You know, Claire has something against you, it's like she wants to tell you something, but she can't, or at least I think so, Issei said, adding fuel to the fire. Teresa looked at him. Something to tell me? That's strange, but I don't plan on leaving her with me. I have to leave her in Rocket Village. Although I admit her company has been pleasant, it's better than being with me. At least that way she'll live like a human, Teresa said, getting up from where she was sitting. Issei was already standing, walking in one direction. Did you feel it? She asked, following Issei without even taking her sword. Yes, he's an idiot, but it'll serve as a message to his group of morons. As for what you said about leaving Claire in the village instead of with you, I doubt she wants to separate from you. That girl has followed you all this time, and I don't think she wants to go back to living with humans, Issei said, walking. They both continued walking in silence, passing by a river that looked beautiful to Issei because of the moonlight, then continued on their way and stood still looking in one direction, which Teresa did. Well? Wasn't it clear you didn't want us bothered anymore, you idiot? Or did the blood loss affect your brain, or is your desire to die so strong that you came here to have it fulfilled? Issei asked, seeing the poor wretch whose left arm he had torn off emerge from the shadows. The severed arm was covered in rags, and a mixture of blood and pus was visible and smelled, since Issei, being part dragon, had a better sense of smell, and it was disgusting to smell that. Teresa kept to herself. She came to see what was happening with Issei. "So, will you tell me why you're here, or do you just want me to cut out your tongue and wear it as a tie, or maybe you want me to even out the cut and leave your other arm the same as your left one?" Issei asked, looking at the subject who approached with dementia in his eyes, his veins standing out from how furious and crazy he felt. I'll kill you, and then I'll buck the Claymore and then the brat," the man said in a frenzy. Issei looked at him with a blank face. "You're really stupid," said the brunette, shaking his head, much to the surprise of Teresa, who hadn't said a single word. The subject lunged at Issei. The brunette saw everything in slow motion, while quickly thinking about trying something he had read in a very old martial arts book that he understood very little but wanted to try. Using a little tauki on his fingers, Issei quickly stopped the subject mid-flight with his index finger in the middle of his head. This impressed Teresa and intrigued her at the same time as she felt a pulse of energy pass from Issei's index finger to the subject's body, who fell to the ground holding his forehead. What the hell did you do?" the man asked. "An experiment. If what I did was exactly the same as in the book I read a while ago, I could say that you have a maximum of 1 or 2 hours to live, enough to reach the camp of his idiot friends and give them a message from me," Issei said, frightened to the subject and impressing Teresa with that fact. "That's a lie, something like that can't happen," said the man, sounding both fearful and skeptical. "Take it however you want. If you're lucky, I messed up the procedure and you live, but you'd better leave and tell them that if they keep bothering me, I'll kill them all in a painful way." "Go away, idiot, go away," Issei yelled, causing the scared guy to get up from the ground and run away like a coward. "What a way to intimidate," Teresa finally said, speaking up. "I wasn't lying, she'll probably die after arriving and delivering the message, she's a human bomb," Issei said when he saw little Claire running towards where he and Teresa were. There Issei saw something he would remember forever, a Claymore shedding tears. After Claire arrived, she hugged Teresa and spoke to her for the first time since they had met. What she said touched Teresa deeply. Claire told her she was suffering greatly. Her silver eyes reflected pain and loneliness, a painful truth, and Teresa realized that her eyes mirrored Teresa's own. Teresa understood then that it wasn't Claire who needed comforting all this time, but rather the other way around. Claire had been trying to comfort Teresa, the Claymore, since she had become what she was. She shed tears and embraced Claire. "And at camp." "So, that's what he told you," the chief said to the one-armed man who seemed scared. He had returned just 57 minutes ago and told them about Issei's warning. They took it as a joke, thinking that a brat couldn't do anything to them, but unfortunately for them, something happened that terrified them. "Hey, what's wrong with you?" one of the men asked, seeing the messenger moving strangely. "Erg. It hurts." The man cried as part of his chest swelled up, terrifying several people. What's happening to me, Erg?" He gasped in pain as the left side of his head swelled abnormally, truly frightening everyone. "Boss, help me, I don't want to die," the man said, while his boss stared at him in terror and awe. He finally screamed as his body began to inflate like a balloon and explode in a shower of blood, pieces of flesh, and viscera that soaked the boss and several others nearby. The boss held in his lap the eye of his former partner. "Aj. It's a damn monster." They all screamed, watching in horror as their companion exploded. The boss said nothing. He had to be strong on the outside, even though inside he felt the greatest terror of all. That kid was more than he seemed. Poor thing, he'd suffer the consequences firsthand. The next day. Back with Teresa, Claire and Issei. Night had already passed and the group of a Claymore, a dragon and a girl arrived in the city where Teresa took Claire to buy her clothes with the money she had. Issei for his part, looked for where to sell medicine and buy provisions for his journey. He looked where Teresa went to buy, seeing her watching him through a window while smiling naturally. "She's beautiful when she smiles naturally," Issei thought, smiling as he disappeared into the crowd of people in the city. After an hour, Issei returned with everything he needed, eating a piece of chicken. Several people stared at him strangely, but he didn't care. It was chicken after all. He walked until he saw Teresa walking towards the north exit of the village, but he ignored her. She had to continue on her way. He walked a while longer and saw Claire with some people. She looked at him and ran towards him. "Issei." She shouted to hug the brunette. Issei opened his eyes a little, but let her be. "Teresa already left, right?" Issei asked Claire, who nodded. "Ah, that was to be expected, but don't worry, you'll see her again someday," the brunette said, seeing that the girl only nodded sadly. Hours passed and the sun was setting. Claire stayed with a family who took her in. Issei knew that those bandits from days ago were after them. After all, he sensed they were coming from about 5 kilometers away. He wasn't stupid. After all, they wouldn't be in the mountains. Issei was sitting by a fountain several meters from the north entrance of the village, eating an apple while boredly watching the village entrance. "You'll either be quick with them or you'll make them suffer," Drake said to his partner. "If I could properly control the flow of the Tauki within another body, I would make them explode, but it's better to instill terror in them before their end. After all, they are bandits. They have committed many atrocities in their lives, so it doesn't matter if they live or die," Issei thought when he sensed their presence about 3 kilometers away. Let the game begin," the brunette whispered, smiling darkly. "With Teresa." Half an hour earlier. She was walking calmly towards the next city, thinking about Claire and Issei, although she thought that she had continued on her way, leaving Claire behind in the village. She was so deep in her thoughts when she heard footsteps that startled her out of them, and when she looked ahead she froze. The group of bandits from days ago passed by her, and she became very worried. "Oh no." Teresa thought as she saw them speeding away. She started running back to the village. "I should have known better. There shouldn't be bandits in this area. They go after the village because it's isolated and cut off, but they knew there was a Yoma there, so they didn't attack. In that sense, the town was protected by the Yoma, and I got rid of the Yoma." Teresa thought as she ran back, unaware of what she would see on her way back. Issei. The town was empty. Some people arrived warning that bandits were approaching, so the people went to the town hall to take refuge. Claire went in search of Issei and found him sitting alone eating an apple by the fountain. "Oh, Claire, Teresa bought you such nice clothes. Tell me, would you like an apple?" Issei offered, but she quickly approached and started pulling at his shirt. "Hey, what's wrong?" Issei asked. "Bandits, they say they're coming, we should go hide," Claire said, but Issei smiled. Don't worry, I'll take care of it," Issei said. "No. Let's hide, you can't handle them alone," Claire shouted, worried about him, but Issei shook his head. "Don't worry," I said, "after all, they're weak and they move in groups because they can't attack alone, so you'd better go hide, okay?" "I'm as strong as Teresa," Issei said, and Claire looked at him. But she wanted to say, but she didn't know what to say. Okay, go hide. You can't stay here. Leave everything to me. I may look small, but I'm strong, so don't worry, Claire, there won't be any problems after this," Issei said, smiling at Claire, who blushed slightly at his smile. She was just a child, after all, and Issei had taken care of her all the way here. "Okay, but be careful," Claire said, and Issei smiled. "Sure, now go hide," Issei said, and she nodded, heading off to join the others in the village. A few minutes passed, and the group of bandits was close, about 50 meters away. "Alright, time to take out the trash," Issei said, pulling out 2 magnum pistols. Being Desert Eagles, he was going to blow them up. "Alright, time to play," Issei said, smiling as he aimed at 2 of the men, since the group was near the town entrance. Bang bang. It was the sound of bullets hitting the subjects' heads, shattering them and scattering their brains everywhere. Everyone stopped at the doors where they saw Issei pointing a weapon they had never seen before, and the brunette's gaze frightened them a little. "It's you little shit," the group leader said angrily, looking at the smiling brunette. "So, how are my dear corpses? Tell me, where's the one-armed man? Did he explode?" Issei asked, smiling and annoying the leader. "Then you're the one responsible for his death, you damned little shit, I'll take care of you," said one of the men, lunging at Issei. "Idiot, don't do it," the leader shouted, but it was useless. I've had to deal with guys like you for a long time," Issei said seriously, aiming at the subject's head. "Just die." And bang. The bullet struck the head directly, shattering it at that distance. The body fell a few meters from Issei, splattering blood on the ground. All the bandits were terrified. Despite their numbers, Issei made them seem like a minority. The advantages of ranged weapons. "You little brat, we thought you'd gone off with the silver-eyed witch, what a mistake," the gang leader said angrily. "Well, you thought wrong. I knew you'd show up sooner or later, so you'd better wait. I'm no idiot. I knew it was stupid to have bandits around here, so you'd better pray to whatever god you know because you won't get out of here alive," Issei said coldly, and everyone was scared. "There's no other option, everyone attack, he won't be able to defend himself against all of us at once," the leader shouted as everyone nodded. "Let's go." They all shouted as they launched themselves at Issei, who smiled. "Idiots." He gripped Ascalon and got into a fighting stance. "Let the game begin." And with that, Issei launched himself at the group of idiots. Moments later. "But what happened here?" Teresa asked, arriving in the city and seeing a pile of bodies at the entrance. Some parts were missing, and several bodies were headless. The head of the bandit leader was impaled on the pile, his expression one of immense pain. A few meters away from the pile were the villagers, who were scared but also looked relieved. Teresa knew who was capable of doing this and found him next to Claire, who was hugging him. Teresa approached and the villagers noticed her. "Oh, it's you, why are you coming back?" the mayor asked Teresa, who looked at him. I saw the group of now dead bodies coming this way and I thought something bad would happen. I came for Claire, but I see that everything is fine, Teresa said, relieved that Claire was okay. Yes, in fact, that boy over there was the one who did it. It's surprising how brutal a child his age can be, but it doesn't surprise me knowing that he travels constantly, said the mayor as he looked at Issei, who noticed Teresa. Oh, Teresa, how are you? Issei asked, smiling. Claire, upon hearing Teresa's name, quickly turned her gaze towards where Teresa was. Teresa, you're back. Exclaimed little Claire happily, running to Teresa to hug her. It's good to know you're okay, Claire, Teresa said, hugging Claire and then looking at Issei. This is impressive in a way, Issei. You really are strong, Teresa said. You saw what I'm capable of, these idiots were no problem, Issei said, approaching the two. Thank you for your help, young Issei. We don't know what would have happened if they had attacked, said the mayor. Believe me, sir, it wouldn't have been pretty. Idiots like that are only after killing, money, and women. But don't worry, they won't bother you for a while. Just in case, take this. I like you guys, and there's good food here. So if something like this happens again, throw this on the ground while you light it and I'll be here, Issei said, handing over a small flare. It wasn't an ordinary flare. It was crimson with the Sekiryuutei symbol on the side. The mayor took it and smiled. Thank you, really, as a token of our gratitude we want to give you this, said the mayor, handing over a box with some money and food for 1 week. It's the least we can give since we're short on cash, the mayor added. Don't worry, I appreciate the gesture. If you'll excuse me, I think it's time for me to continue on my way, Issei said, and they nodded. Issei walked past Teresa and Claire, and the little girl took hold of his cloak. Claire, what's wrong? Issei asked. Can't you stay longer? Claire asked. No, I have to continue on my way, but you can accompany me if you want, Issei offered. Are you sure, young man? The mayor asked. It wouldn't be a problem, after all, a little company is good, Issei said. The mayor nodded and gave Claire a bag with a few things as they said goodbye. Issei saw Teresa looking at him. What? Is there something on my face? Issei asked, and she shook her head while smiling naturally. No, actually I think we'll stay together for a while longer. After all, it's hard for me to leave Claire now, you don't mind, right? She asked, and Issei shook his head. Like I said, some company is good now and then, so you can come, Teresa said. Besides, I think they'll come after me thinking I was the one who killed those guys, Teresa added. What, seriously? That's bullshit, I was the one who killed them, not you, Issei said angrily. I don't care, after all they were already looking for ways to take me out of the game, they'll take this opportunity to do it, besides, whoever they send will probably be weaker than me, so there will be problems for the moment, Teresa said, letting out a sigh. She felt a hand on her shoulder and saw Issei. Don't worry, I know everything will be alright, besides, I'll help you with whatever you need, I don't intend to let them kill you because of me, Issei said seriously, bringing a smile to Teresa's face. I'm counting on you then, Teresa said, smiling sincerely. She then looked at Claire. Well, Claire, it's time to go, Teresa said, and Claire smiled. Hi. Said the little girl happily. Thus the trio consisting of the Sekiryuutei, the future former number 1 of the organization and a girl, left the town in an unknown direction. In the distance a hooded subject who had seen Teresa near the pile of corpses that was later burned by the people of the town, thought that the Claymore was the culprit. You finally did it, I knew this day would come, the man said, watching Teresa leave with Issei and Claire. The rule admits no exceptions no matter the circumstances or reasons, it's regrettable, Teresa with a weak smile, the man said before leaving to report what Teresa did. This would only be the beginning of the problems for Issei and Teresa, although everything seemed to be fine, something could soon change. Unknown location. So, they eliminated more hollows again, whoever is responsible must be exceptional, a sinister voice spoke from a dark room as the group of hollows Issei had killed vanished quickly. But even so, it interferes with my plans for conquest. That obstacle must disappear, the being said, pondering a decision that would put a stop to this individual interfering with his progress. I'll send a group of Minos Grand. Perhaps that way I can eliminate this nuisance. That should be enough, the being said, as a small ray of light from one of the windows illuminated him, revealing Berrigan in his hollow form. This was just the beginning, and Issei had to learn to be strong to stop the threat that this entity represents. End of chapter 3. Let me know in the comments below if you guys want the next part. Also check out my other video that has been shown and left. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video please like and share this video. And have a fantastic day. Bye.